So this is going to be, I guess, some kind of intro music that we have to record at some point. What's up, everyone? This is Dipped in Tone Podcast, episode 1.5, because we already recorded this and we screwed it up. But
yeah, well, we didn't. Our machinery failed us.
Yeah. So I'm Rhett.
I'm Zach.
And we are hosting this podcast together. This is something we wanted to start doing for quite some time, actually.
Yeah.
How did this all start? It was all on Instagram, right?
This is all because we invade each other's live streams on Instagram and then just completely ignore anyone saying anything to us and just have private conversations in public about guitar stuff. And we don't hold back for the most part. We kind of give our honest opinions on stuff, and I think people appreciate it. So we thought we should make this a thing.
Yeah, it's become, every time I see you live, just about, I jump on your stream, hijack it, and it becomes a private conversation in public.
Yeah,
100% of the time. A lot of hot takes, a lot of opinions, things that are said that are not always thought through fully before said.
Right. Yeah.
I guess that's the definition of a hot take. And so actually this came from some of you guys commenting on those live streams, just saying, hey, you guys should start a podcast. And we were like, you know what? We should start a podcast because that would be sweet.
Yeah, and we can't just record it on our phones. We're not going to be that cheap. So we had I bought a $300 microphone just because I want to look like Joe Rogan and be cool. So yeah, we did. Rhett, you already had all the stuff, so I'm just playing catch up. But I'm excited because I need a creative outlet instead of just hunching over my desk soldering all day, which is exhausting. Yes. So,
and I need one more thing to take on.
Just add it
because I'm
to the pile.
Yeah, add it to the pile. I'm not spinning enough plates already in terms of content production, but I think we've got a pretty good system worked out here, or we will have a pretty good system worked out here. So we should point out that this is not just an audio podcast. This is also a video podcast. So this is going to be on YouTube. We have a new YouTube channel that we just started 10 minutes before this first episode went up. So it's Dipped in Tone Podcast on YouTube. Sorry, that's my plumbing, everyone. I work out of a closet. So yeah, Dipped in Tone Podcast on YouTube. We're going to be uploading weekly episodes. You can also email us, dippedintone@gmail.com. So what's the email for? Is for topic suggestions, questions. Yep. We're going to have a few different segments throughout the show, and it's going to develop over time. We're also going to have some guests on.
Yeah.
But the overarching theme here is sort of our take on not just the guitar world, but the music world in general and how we perceive it. So under that sort of umbrella is going to be, we're going to talk about gear. We're going to talk about music. We're going to hot takes on news and current events. We're going to have guests on. We're going to do gear reviews, which we'll get to this one in just a minute here. There's my plumbing again. Sorry, guys. So subscribe on YouTube. This is also going to be hosted everywhere fine podcasts are downloaded. So Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Google Play. I don't think we're going to do a website or anything like that.
No. You could, I know so little about podcasts. You could just name websites that supposedly host podcasts, and I'll be like, oh, yeah, I'm sure we're there too.
Pod Central, we're on City,
Potty Central. We're on Podtown. I'm sure these are probably taken. They have to.
They probably are taken. Yeah. So, anyways, that's it. This is Dipped in Tone. We should talk about the name Dipped in Tone,
right?
And where it comes from, because it's kind of a unique story, and I think it's unique to both of us individually. So, what does it come from, Zach?
Well, so you and I both we're from the South, and there's all these great phrases that we've heard growing up, and something that I'd always heard growing up was, well, I'll be dipped. And I never really understood where that came from until, for those that don't know, I make pedals. And before I make pedals, I used to work at Carter Vintage Guitars. And Steve Earle was in the shop one day, and we showed him a guitar, and he said, well, I'll be dipped in shit. And I was like, that's where that comes from. And Rhett and I started talking about that phrase and immediately sort of laughing like idiots and say it about everything now. So it's kind of like this inside joke. But that I thought that would be a funny name for a podcast, because we always say that phrase and we love talking about just the most unnecessary guitar things. So we're dipped in tone. So that's
Yeah.
where
Yeah,
it came from.
I heard it too, because the only other time I've ever heard "I'll be dipped" was from one of my best friends, Ian, who I play music with, and Ian's from the upstate of South Carolina, and he always said, I'll be dipped in shit.
Right.
I'll be dipped, and I didn't hear it growing up because I grew up just outside of Atlanta, and Atlanta's not really the South. I mean, it is.
Well, that's like saying Florida's not the South. Like, hold on, no.
Well, Atlanta is the capital of the South, right? But it's,
Right.
Atlanta, the metro Atlanta area. If you're not from the South, the stereotype that you have in your head of a Southerner isn't really Atlanta.
Right.
No.
No.
Now it is Sparta, Tennessee.
Yeah,
And it is the
yeah.
upstate of South Carolina,
Yeah,
where Zach is from.
yeah. Middle Tennessee, out like, an hour away from Nashville is a lot of coveralls, a lot of pickup trucks, a lot of weird things in your yard, broken
Yeah.
cars and stuff. So yeah.
Yeah. So the "I'll be dipped" thing, it was something that you and I connected on, because I haven't heard, other than my friend Ian, I've never heard anybody else say it other than you. And I love the story that you heard the entire phrase from Steve Earle, of all
Right.
people, for the first time.
I had no idea that was the entire phrase. I just thought, well, I'll be dipped. I thought that was the whole thing. And then when I heard that, I was like, oh, okay. It all
Makes
makes
a lot
sense
more sense now. Yeah, I will be dipped in shit. There you go.
But man, yeah.
Also, we are going to aim to make this a somewhat family-friendly show. This is going to be we'll call it a PG-13 show. Okay,
Yeah.
so
Ish.
if you got kids, we're not gonna go out of control or get vulgar or anything, but we're also not going to be super clean.
That's right. We'll just keep it, reasonable.
Yeah.
Like if you overheard someone at the next table at a restaurant, whenever you can go back to restaurants, you'd be like, well, that's fine. You're not
Yeah.
going to tell your waiter on them. Or anything.
Listen, your kids are going to learn eventually.
That's right.
They might as well learn from Uncle Zach and Rhett. How about that?
Anyway.
Anyways, all right. Well, so current events. What's going on in the guitar musical world this week?
Not
Zachary.
a whole lot. Like there's been a lot of things that have happened that we missed the boat on because my computer is dumb and old. But the thing that I've been seeing a lot of on Reverb, and this is something that they've done for a while. They're starting to do like these curated artist stores. They did one with Green Day, and they've done a few other ones, but they just recently announced they're doing one with Brian Setzer, and they're doing one with Jack White. And I don't know about you, but for me, when I see that stuff and I watch the video and it's like shows them like talking about the guitars or the amps or whatever, I'm like, oh, I really want to try and buy that. But I know in my heart of hearts that I don't need any of that stuff. It's just like the excitement of trying to own something celebrity owned that's kind of cool already is
Right.
really enticing to me. So
But does the celebrity owned thing increase the value at all for you, or is it like, would you pay? All right, let's say let's say Zach White. That's what I almost said. Let's say Jack White had a 335.
right.
Just a Memphis-made U.S. this guitar. Okay, this is a 2010
Showing off.
Memphis-made, 335. Great guitar. I just made a video about it. But for all intents and purposes, it's nothing special. It's not vintage. It's not a custom shop. It's so what would this be worth on Reverb right now as it is? Like what, $2,200 maybe, something
Yeah,
like that?
20, 25-ish, yeah.
Yeah. So, but if this was Jack White's 335, how much would you pay for that guitar?
Well, I mean, Jack White is like, I like Jack White. I like some of his stuff. He's not the most like exciting person for me to like try to buy some gear from. I actually was really excited about Brian Setzer. So if it was like someone I really admired, I could see maybe spending another $500 or something. If it was like that guitar for 10 grand, I'd be like, no, never, ever, ever, ever. But, I think that's reasonable. And, if it comes with some sort of certificate of authenticity, it does add value to the instrument because it's not like, they're a nobody, and someone
Right.
out there would find that like appealing and interesting. If it's already a good instrument, like the one thing that I think is good about this is like they're actually instruments that these people used or at least had. It's
Right.
not like Have you ever gone to those like souvenir stores in a mall that have all the signatures, and they'll have like a Squire or a Starcaster with
Yep.
a signed pick guard that they just went to a backstage thing, and it's like
Yep.
$1,000 or something
Yep.
ridiculous. Like that is just ludicrous. But buying one of Brian Setzer's like personal model guitars that he gigged with, to me is like, that's really cool, and I would love to be able to do something and like buy a piece like that, but I'm not going to. But I just get really excited when I see those videos.
I don't know shit about sports, but I imagine it's a lot like the sports memorabilia. So when I was growing up, I had a neighbor across the street. It was an older couple, Jack and Connie. Dude, they were the coolest people. My first job growing up was they literally hired me one summer. I must have been like 12 or 13 years old. And they came over to my house and rang the doorbell and told my mom, they're like, hey, we need some yard work done and we'll pay Rhett $20 to come do it. My mom was like, great. And
Get him out of here.
Get him out of here. And that became like my first job. I was their yard boy for like 3 or 4 years. And it wasn't like, oh, hey, rake some leaves and, cut the grass. It became, I was essentially landscaping for them. Hey,
Right.
we got 3 tons of mulch and we need to spread and we're going to do these rocks and everything. But they were so cool. And in their basement, I remember it was essentially a museum in their basement. It was like, they had a pair of boxing gloves that Muhammad Ali had used and signed. They had a bunch of baseball jerseys that were signed, a bunch of football stuff. Again, I don't know shit about sports. So I don't know who was what and whatever. But I imagine it's a similar thing with the guitar stuff, and I agree. If it's like, all right, so for me, Jason Isbell is one.
Right.
If there was if his whatever, that gold top Duesenberg that he's played for a long time, right? I could see that going for a pretty substantial amount of money, and that to me would be interesting because it's like, okay, it's well documented. I've personally seen him play it before,
Right. Yeah.
live. There's plenty of video and documentation online of him actually using it. That makes a lot more sense. Now, how much more would it be worth? Who knows, man? There's a whole other market there. So it's like, is the artist alive? Are they still working?
It's a deep rabbit hole, and oh man, without naming names, I've had some friends. Well, not friends. There's people I know that have had celebrities just literally touch an instrument that they own, or maybe like sit down and play it unplugged, like an electric guitar or bass, and they want just an obscene amount of money. Like no person on earth would ever spend this amount of money, and I just don't get the mindset. But I know a lot of people have that. I mean, like, but for me, it's just like more about the story and the connection with the artist that is pretty cool and appealing. But I think it's cool that Reverb is doing this. I'm sure we're going to see a lot more of it. But I don't know.
Well, the question I have is on the money front. Is it all going to the artist, or is it like a charity thing? How does that work?
I don't know. I've seen some people do some, donating in the profits, but I think most of them are just people selling gear to clear out closet space or something.
Yeah, right.
So
Closet space. I just imagine Jack White living in some old beat up farmhouse
it's a barn.
in a barn, and he's just got a bunch of closets full of old, airlines and Silvertones and stuff. He's like,
Just
"God, I
like
gotta get rid of this
really
stuff."
fancy furniture that he just like lays around on and like plays acoustic guitar and writes songs.
Oh man, yeah.
I
Okay.
met him once at Carter, and like I had no idea it was him. He came in, and I was super busy. It wasn't a busy day, but I was just being run ragged by a few customers, and he was just wearing like normal person clothes.
Yeah, he wasn't in a 3-piece tweed suit.
No, like he was like totally. It's like a t-shirt and jeans and like a ball cap, and he was asking me questions. He was super nice, and I was just kind of like, yeah, it's like this and this, and this, like kind of like blew him off, and I didn't really mean to. But when he was leaving, he was like checking out, and I looked at his face, and I was like, oh my god, you're Jack White. And he talked to me for a minute, and he couldn't have been nicer. So it was.
I've
I just
actually
felt like
heard
a
that
real
about
dick.
him before. That he
Yeah.
is a pretty straight ahead kind of guy, which I really respect.
Yeah.
It's so easy, especially someone of that level and someone who's been famous for that long. It's so
Yeah.
easy to be, stuck up your own. I feel like we're getting. If I say ass here, we're gonna start encroaching on that PG-13 limit.
Yeah,
We need to start keeping a
meter's
tally
going.
of the VU meter was starting to creep over a little bit. But yeah.
Well, but
Nice. So we got a couple topics here.
yes.
We did some prep work. Okay. We didn't just turn on the cameras and start talking. We've got some prep work done. I'll tell you what.
I have an email draft that I just keep like filling up until like the day of, and then I email it.
Yeah, that's good. So I want to continue with this gear selling thing because this is an interesting topic, and this is something that I want the listeners or the viewers to get involved in. So if you're on YouTube, you can comment down below. We will be reading and responding to the comments. Gear we regret selling. Mm-hmm. Or how many times have you bought the same thing over and over, even though you hate it? Now, that's two different questions.
Yeah.
The first one is gear you regret selling. I have one thing that really sticks out, but I want to hear. You and I have never talked about this, so I want to hear your list here.
The only thing I only have one guitar. No, that's not true. I have a guitar and an amp that I really wish I had kept. I had an RO, a black ebony 1960 reissue Les Paul. That was my first custom shop guitar ever, and it was just phenomenal. It was an incredible guitar. It had a thin neck, but it wasn't like an SG. It was really playable and just a resonant, really great sounding guitar, even unplugged. And after I got my R9, a black Les Paul sitting next to a super flamey burst is like, it looks so boring and stuff. And so I eventually sold it, and I sold it I think on the Les Paul forum or My Les Paul or one of those, and I sold it without any hardware. It was just the guitar. Like they didn't want anything on it because they already had all the upgraded like bridge and pickups and pickup rings and stuff.
Wait. What do you mean? Like it was a complete guitar. You didn't just sell like a blank body.
I pulled all I think I might have left like the tuners and the bridge assembly, but they didn't want any electronics or anything. They just in the plastic, they had all that to get it at a more reasonable price. I sold it just as like a husk, basically in the case.
So you parted out your Les Paul?
Well, I mean, all of my guitars except for the Novo, I hot rod them immediately. So that guitar, all the stock parts had long been sold on eBay, So yeah, I just sold it as this husk, and when I was packing it up, it just like really broke my heart, and I should have said no, I can't do this, but I think about that guitar all the time, and I wish I had kept it. And I had a Dr. Z Z-Rec in the silver, the quantum silver with the flame maple valence. Shouldn't have sold that. It was amazing. It's the loudest. It's so stupid loud, but just what a sound, man. The Trainwreck thing and with Dr. Z's touch is just magic. And I don't know. I wish I still had it. So.
That's on my list. A Z-Rec is on my list of amps.
Now they make the Junior.
Yeah, but I want
you want the full whack.
Yeah, well, it makes a lot more sense now because of things like the aux and the Torpedo Captor X. Like you can, it's now way more feasible to own a 100-watt plexi or a 75-watt. How powerful are Z-Recs? I don't even know.
It's 30 watts clean, so it's rated at 30 watts until it distorts. Then the RMS rating doesn't account for that.
Dude, so that's like. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but that's like this amp right here.
Yeah,
it's
divided by
rated
the same way.
It's rated at 37 watts. There is no way in hell that amp is 37 watts.
I don't understand how Z gets the volume out, because like that was just it's 4 EL84s. So it's like a Vox sort of thing, but just God almighty, it was insane. The day I got it, I drove to Nashville. I bought it like a few months after they were released, so I paid like full retail for it. I drove home and I had a bar gig that night, and literally I like took it because later I bought like an air brake attenuator and had all that, but that night I didn't have any of that, and so I was like setting up for the gig and I was turning the volume, and as soon as it started to make noise, it was loud enough for the entire gig. So I was like, well, I don't know, I'll have fun with this. But those are the two things I really regret selling. So
well. And then what about the follow-up to that question? Things that you've bought over and over, but even though you hate them. And now that's interesting because I don't
Well,
think
not
I've had
hate.
that
Hate's a
experience.
strong word, but like you try something over and over and over, thinking this one will be different. You know, for me, it's Strats. I've bought so many Strats over the years, and I mean, I have a Squire now that's just like hangs in the garage that I don't worry about, but I keep coming back to it though. Like every time I sit down and play a Strat, I'm like, okay, I do that one Strat thing. I play a Strat like Stevie Ray Vaughan, John Mayer. Like that's all. That's the only thing I can really get out of it. You know, when I go to play one. But I love the way they look, and I do like the sound. But every time I own one, I just never play it.
Yep.
But even still, like Carter, they'll post like pictures. They have like a rosewood neck shell pink like custom shop Strat right now, and it's beautiful. But I know I'll never play it, so I keep getting pulled in. It's like some sort of bad relationship thing.
It's an abusive relationship.
Yeah,
It'll be different this time, man. I promise. The Strat, we're gonna get it this time. I have a complicated relationship with Strats too.
Yeah.
Right now, I'm on a pretty big Strat kick because I realized I made a video about this a few weeks ago, but I think all Strats just they sound better and play better in E flat, and we should just, as a guitar community, should just accept that hey, E flat should be the standard for a Stratocaster. And, you know, you can play whatever tuning you want, but I just think they sound so much better in E flat. So
it's interesting how different just that little amount of tuning difference makes for the entire instrument.
Yep.
It's pretty crazy.
So I have an interesting thing. I've sold quite a bit of gear over the years. Sold a handful of guitars, sold a bunch of pedals and stuff. There's really not a lot of things that I regret selling, which I count myself really lucky because for the most part, I sit and think. I don't impulse buy or impulse sell very often. I really think about something, and if I want to sell something, I'm like, all right, well, let me think about it for a week, and I'll come back in a week and see how I feel. And most times that urge has passed by then.
Right.
Now, there's been a few things. The first thing that comes to mind for me that I truly regret selling is some recording equipment. I had a pair of Purple Audio MC77s. So those are 1176 clones, compressors, which are for guitar is crazy good. That's like, I think, the compressor to have for electric guitars. You know, you send your amp through them. The color that they add is just really, really nice. Really good analog sort of warmth kind of thing. I had a pair of them, and it came from a few years, it's probably 6 or 7 years ago now. My dad was on Craigslist and found a guy local to me here in Atlanta who, as a side hustle, just as a hobby, this guy, he's really nice. I've met him before. His name's Mike, and he has a really great job. He's in sales, so he has, I think, more money than he knows what to do with. And as a side hustle, as a hobby, he goes and buys out old recording studios or studios that are shutting down, and then buys all the gear and then sells it all. He's constantly got like really good stuff. If you look at his thing on Facebook Marketplace, he's always got really good mics and stuff for sale. So he had just started, he had just bought out this studio in New Jersey, and he was selling the whole thing. And my dad found it, and we went up there, and we got a pair of
drove to Jersey?
No. So this guy, he drove to Jersey, bought the studio, and drove back down to Atlanta.
Okay.
So we went to his house, and he just literally, dude, in his basement had just a pile of stuff. So at the time, this is when one of the artists I play for, Noah, we were moving Noah's studio into the basement. And we had Noah's brother, Ian, the friend of mine, I'll be dipped, had a 40-channel Ramza console, a 1978 Ramza, I think it was an S840 console. It was an old monitor desk from the 70s, and this desk toured with Skinner, it toured with 38 Special. It had a history, and so we had a console in the basement. And this is actually where we made Noah's second record, The Valley, was in the basement here. And so we were buying some recording gear, and so I borrowed some money from my dad, and it was a really good deal. It was such a good deal that this guy ended up calling us later and was like, hey, I did the math wrong and sold you this stuff for way less than what I paid for it, and my wife is pissed." And we were like, "Oh man, that sucks. Sorry."
Buy her some wine and chocolate.
Yeah, I think we ended up working something out where I think I paid him an extra like $100-something or whatever, and he just chalked it up as a loss. But anyway, I had these MC77s. I had them for years. But the way it worked out was I ended up, when we kind of dissolved the studio and all the gear, I ended up with all the compressors and stuff, but I had no mic preamps. And this is when I was doing, my YouTube channel to start up. I was recording a lot here at the house. And I had 4 channels of compression, but no good mic preamps and a cheap interface. So I ended up selling the MC77s to buy my first pair of mic pre's. And now looking back, I should have just kept them, dude.
Right.
Like, they were so good and they looked cool. They sounded great. And so I've looked at buying them again, but God, I just don't want to drop the money to buy something I already had,
Yeah, I do that a lot with pedals. Like I buy and sell stuff, and I'll always come back to something, and I think, this time I'm going to keep it, and then I end up selling it, and then I'll want it again. I do that a lot. That's actually a good segue to one pedal I've done that a lot with.
The
venerable
Tube Screamer.
Rhett's favorite.
Here's the deal. I don't like this pedal.
Have you played that one yet?
No, not yet.
Okay.
But I've played these before. It's a TS9, Ibanez TS9, that Zach bought and sent me because we are working on a video together. Mm-hmm. The basic premise here is, so I don't like Tube Screamers. They're great. I get it. It's just not my thing. The mid-range kind of thing that they do, I'm not a fan of. I'm not a Strat player. I like humbuckers and P90s. I don't think these work great with humbuckers or P90s. I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that disagree with me.
That's all I play.
Well, yeah. So there you go. And I do like mid-scooped amps as well, right? Which these tend to work pretty well for. But for whatever reason, I've always preferred blues breaker circuits over the Tube Screamers.
Yeah.
So what's the premise here, Zach? What are we doing with this?
So mine, I should say, this one is well modified. This is an Analog Man one that I bought on eBay for like super cheap. But I want you to play it because I think like the Tube Screamer, I think a lot of people pigeonhole the Tube Screamer into being just a Stevie Ray Vaughan thing. It's like it's just like the Texas blues guitar tone, and that's not what it's done. Like so many people have used this on so many different records and so many different styles of music that I think it's just a really great overdrive that most people make the mistake of running the overdrive too high and not using it as a boost. I think as a booster, it's fantastic. So I think...
Why? What makes it a great booster?
Well, because... Okay. It makes a great booster hitting an already slightly driven amp. I think into a clean amp, it's. I understand why people don't like it. But I think if you're already playing something that's got a little bit of push, when you use this as a boost, it works really well because it slightly cuts the bass. It pushes the mids, which is where the guitar kind of lives. And you can tailor the high end to taste. It's not like, I don't feel like these pedals are overly bright. But just using it to kind of like tighten up and punch up a sound as more of like a solo booster or the next level of gain, not necessarily using it as a clean or a dirty sound. It's great for that. But I know a lot of people that hate it too. So what I want to do is you play that I sent you, and then you're going to send it back to me, and we're going to mod it. And all right. I'm going to mod it.
Yeah, I'm not going to mod anything.
And I'm going to try and make it if there ever was a Tube Screamer for you to like, this one will be the one. So here's my next question. I know I like blues breakers. Yeah.
So what's the difference between a Tube Screamer and a blues breaker in terms of, not super granular detail here, but overall, what's the main difference between a blues breaker circuit and a Tube Screamer circuit?
Yeah, so a blues breaker they're both soft clipped overdrives. Excuse me. They both have almost the same style op amp. They function basically the same. Tube Screamers have an input and output buffer to, boost the level, change the impedance and stuff like that. But basically, the biggest difference is how the tone control works. A Tube Screamer has an active kind of like filter section. That's what the tone knob is.
Right.
Whereas a Blues Breaker is just it's more like a guitar knob, like a tone knob on a guitar. It's just a passive roll off with a cap. Really simple. That's partly why so many original Blues Breakers, all original Blues Breakers are so quiet, because they have a passive
right
tone knob that just sucks all your volume. But it's, where the gain knob is put in the circuit is a lot different. They're both still soft clipped, but the biggest thing is just how it's filtered and how the tone knob interacts with the rest of the circuit, because the Tube Screamer is rolling off. It has a specific high pass filter to roll off bass and do all that. So that's the biggest difference.
So we're not gonna get to the point where we modify it so much that it ends up being more of a Blues Breaker than a Tube Screamer, right?
Well, I've done mods, and this is like diving way deeper than I was intending to for your video, so I think this is good. I've done mods where you actually change the tone circuit in this to a passive tone control, and then all the mids come back, all the character that makes it sound Tube Screamery goes away, because then what you have is an op amp that's pushing the gain, and then an op amp that's just an amplifier, and this thing is loud. That I call that my clon mod when I mod these, because it makes it sound more like a clon. It still cuts the bass a little bit and pushes the mids, but it's so much more open than these normally are, and does sound a little bit more transparent.
There it is.
Yeah.
The first one.
We need a bell. Ding.
We didn't even make it through the first episode without the transparent overdrive reference.
Well, it's a thing, and people understand it. I think a lot of people view transparency as this.
Right. Moonshine.
Well, yeah. No, this is just absolute vodka. Where transparency is more, or how I think of it, more like sunglasses. It adds a tint. It shades everything.
Right.
You can still see through it, but it's not exactly the same. Like if you want something that is completely clear and does nothing to your sound, you don't want an overdrive. You want a booster.
Right.
So, but anyway, yeah, I know I fall victim to the mojo hype words and do all that, and that could be the perfect segue.
The mojo hype words. So yeah, I think I'm looking forward to this because, I want to revisit this.
When was the last time you played one?
All right, I'll show you. I have a. So I have this. This is a Jam Pedals double Dreamer. It's like a double kind of a 2-in-1 Tube Screamer with a cool kind of boost circuit.
Oh.
Now, in all transparency, they did send me this last year.
Nice.
And I have used it on some videos before, but I've never featured it heavily, just because I will say of all the Tube Screamer type pedals I've played, I do like this one probably, I would say the best. But again, take my words with a grain of salt here, because I don't have a ton of experience with the Tube Screamer world. I just like this one because you can stack them in different ways. This is not a commercial, by the way. I'm not sponsored by or being paid by Jam to talk about this. I have this, and then I also have the shout out to Lawrence Petros. LPD Modern Classic, and this one I like too because it has a clean blend.
Yeah, that's a great interpretation.
Yeah,
and if you're looking up Lawrence Petros, he just rebranded everything, and it's it looks great. Everything he's doing.
So this one's pretty cool. It's a pre-rebrand, so it's pretty rare. It's probably worth about 1,200,
This is
1,300.
an OG,
you know.
yeah. As much as the Klon on my, where's it at?
Oh yeah. Wait, your Klon? Oh,
I can't point.
Yeah, there it is.
Found it.
That's going to be a thing. You're going to end up referencing the Klon every single episode. Yeah, so anyway, the Klon that I have.
I should like hang it
there.
from a different point in the room.
Yeah, so that's what I've got. The Jam Pedals Double Dreamer and the LPD Modern Classic.
Well, when was the last time you played a honest to goodness Ibanez? You know,
Honestly, I don't know. It's been years, and it would have been in a music store when I was thinking about buying one. I would pull it out, just throw it in front of an amp real quick, play it, and be like, "Oh yeah, I don't like these." So,
I think you're going to be pleasantly surprised. I'm excited to see your reaction.
what if I still hate it? What are you gonna do?
I'm not going to be mad at you. I mean, I don't know if I'll talk to you as much, but you know, I think we'll be okay.
Yeah. So I don't know. We'll see. I'm excited to see how this comes out. I think it's gonna be a fun video to make.
Yeah.
And you know, hopefully people will learn something. I'm sure I'm gonna learn something from it. You know,
it's my favorite pedal to work on. Like, full stop. If someone's wanting me to mod something and then they say it's a tube screamer, I'd be like, oh yeah, I love taking apart tube screamers. They're so like easy to mod. So and that's partly why there's so many people that still sell modded tube screamers on, you know, online.
Right.
But yeah.
Yeah. So speaking of the clone thing, this is another thing you threw in the email, and I thought this was a great idea for a topic because this is something I've been thinking about quite a bit recently.
Yeah.
So this is literally what you said. Can I just say what you wrote in the email thread? This is great. Holy shit. Another clone of something. Will guitarists and builders move past regurgitating the same gear over and over again? How does marketing play into our GAS? And if you're not familiar, GAS is an acronym for Gear Acquisition Syndrome. Mm-hmm. This is a great topic, man.
I don't know anyone that is immune to gas.
Yeah.
I mean, I fall victim to it every week.
Yeah. So. I think it's human nature, man. It's this innate drive we have to like collect and sort of own things.
Yeah.
You know,
absolutely.
I have it all the time.
But yeah, this is something that I think about this a lot. I mean, obviously because I make things. I think about like the things I want to do and where I want to take, you know, my brand. But then when I ask people what they want, they say, I want a tube screamer, I want a tone bender, I want a fuzz face, I want the same thing that I can buy from anywhere else, but I want you to make it. And it's an interesting thing, and I think it's permeated the entire industry because there's more than just pedals, like amps, guitars. Like, how many Fender clones are there? Like, I would argue at least half of the guitars being made right now are probably Fender style guitars.
Right.
You know, like I just think you look at something like the Novo and guys that are really pushing the boundaries of shapes and doing something new and genuinely different in a very classic way. And some people really love it and some people really hate it, but at least it's something new, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I feel that way too. It's like, I'm of two minds about this because on the one hand, I sort of long for a period of music and guitar that I didn't actually live through, right? The 50s, 60s, 70s, not so much the 80s, not necessarily my bag, you know.
No.
But the guitars that I love, I'm a big Gibson fan. I love Gibson guitars. I'm a big Fender fan. I love old Tellys.
Yeah.
Complicated relationship with the Strat, as we mentioned earlier. But a lot of the guitars I have, like, this is just what's sitting closest to me, you know, that's a modern just clone of something that you would have, well, not necessarily a clone, but a modern recreation of something that you would have bought in 1959, we'll say.
Right, yeah.
You know? So it's weird because if you think about other industries, like the car industry is not like this.
No.
Ford's not reissuing 1967 fastback Mustangs.
No.
Right? They still make the Mustang, but it looks and drives nothing like one from 67. You know, the new Corvette, I don't know if you've seen that, the C8 Corvette. It's like a mid-engine supercar that has nothing to do with like a early '60s Corvette. So why does the guitar industry lean so heavily towards this like one era, arguably a 10-year period of time,
Right.
in guitar manufacturing? Pedals are a little bit different, but amps too. There's basically 3 flavors of amp out there: Fender, Marshall, and Vox. You could throw Orange and Hiwatt in there too, but for all intents and purposes, there's 3 flavors of amplifier, and it seems almost everyone out there, with the exception of the high gain world, which admittedly I don't know that much about, but the world that you and I live in,
right?
It's like, oh yeah, this is it's like a 5E3 Tweed Deluxe, but with a few mods. Or, oh, it's an AC30, it's a top boost AC30 with it's a little tweaked or whatever,
Yeah, I think a lot of it, honestly, stems from because you're trying to sell something that, I mean, especially right now, but if you're a small builder, if you're a small company, people might not be able to try your thing. And the only way they can understand what it might do is to relate it to something that they may have heard. And we kind of live in this realm of yesterday, where we are just, we admire the things that have come before us so much that it's hard to think, to the future as far as like how to do something new. But then like, I say that and think, oh man, an amp that could do, this and that and that and this would be really neat. But then I wouldn't buy it. I would buy a small, simple tube amp because that's what I know and like. I don't know. The thing about clones, and I think it's worse with pedals. I think pedals, because with an amplifier, there's so much more you can do, like so far as aesthetics and making a statement. Like a pedal's, 5 or 6 inches of metal in a box that is cool on the floor. But like, as much as I feel connected to pedals, I feel more connected to guitars and amps. And I think there's way more, like, I think people are more open-minded to kind of pushing their limits a little bit with those things. But with pedals, I feel like most people have a very narrow-minded focus. And if you stray too far from the path, not everyone's going to get it. And it may just be a flop. And, it is very discouraging for someone who's trying to make something to try to push the boundaries, because most people just don't want that. They want this. And
right.
It's weird. Like, why? Well, you can still buy this.
There's a movement happening though away from that. And I think so I'm 30. I think it's people younger than me, the post-millennial generation of guitar players. And you see it on Instagram now. Mm-hmm. It's a lot of the Instagram guitar players that are really big. The sound now is, at least that I see, this is a generalization. Okay, so don't rip me apart in the comments. But the sound that I see generally across like this kind of new movement is it's like a neo R&B kind of thing. So it's like they took neo soul and then revamped it, right? And so the guitar sounds are very clean. Oftentimes it's a plug-in. Most of the times they're playing, one of the Neural DSP plugins, or maybe a Helix or something like that. And they're playing oftentimes guitar like a Strandberg, for example, or they're playing an extended range guitar. So it's like you're blending this neo soul kind of sound with a progressive extended range headless guitar with maybe active pickups and a super clean digital amplifier or digital creation of an amplifier. And what they end up doing, because they're playing a completely new sound or a completely new type of rig, the sound sounds nothing like what would happen in the 60s or 70s. It's very clean, very, very compressed. Oftentimes there's some kind of octave effect, like an octave up effect blended in along with it. And the way they're playing, it's like they're blending a neo soul type of chord voicing and voice leading sort of thing with the tapping. And when you combine all that together with the hyper compression, it's building this new type of guitar sound that I think, especially from the Instagram players, part of the reason they're doing that is it works particularly well on phone speakers. That super compressed, super clean, articulate guitar sound comes through your iPhone really well. And I think that's intentionally done. So there is that movement of younger players. And I also think it comes from somewhat a culture of rejection, right? Like these
Right.
younger players are tired of seeing this kind of stuff. They're tired of Les Pauls. They're tired of, I mean, the Strats arguably are pretty popular, but they're
Yeah.
tired of like the traditional sort of guitar sounds that, their dads grew up with,
Yeah.
And they're doing their own thing, which I think is really cool. Because if you look back at our guitar heroes, that's what they were doing in their time, right? Like
Yeah.
Stevie Ray Vaughan or Hendrix or Clapton, like they were completely changing the game at that place in time.
Right.
So I'm all for it, man.
Well, it's funny, like, because I see that too. I see that whole aspect of like the Instagram guitarist. I mean, I don't follow as many people that play like that as maybe I should. But the thing I'm curious about is like, is that what guitar is in current popular music? Like, because I don't really know. Like, because when I think of pop music now and what most people are interested in that have guitar, it's mostly country. Which is kind of just like, it's just rock guitar now.
Yeah.
But like that whole thing, and I've seen a lot of people playing like the Strombergs and those kind of guitars using like synths and that sort of thing instead of like, actually, using it as a guitar. Like where does that fall into like the music spectrum of what's actually like charting or at least trending? Because I have no idea about that.
We should get Rod Castro on the show.
Yeah.
Rod's a buddy of mine. Do you know Rod?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I met him at NAMM.
He's awesome, really nice guy, and he is the dude to talk to about this because he is doing the thing right now. He's playing on all these sessions. He plays with a lot of these artists. He tours a lot of these artists. I had him on my podcast back in January, and we talked about this. And what he said then was, a lot of what the pop guitar producers, or the pop producers, I should say, that are looking for guitar sounds now, is it's really more they want a texture rather than, they don't want it to sound like a guitar,
right?
Which kind of hurts a little bit, I'll admit, but that's what it is. They want to make the guitar sound like something else. I think a good reference for this right now, and somebody I'm really, really getting into, is Tom Misch. Misch?
Oh, I've heard of him.
Misch.
Yes.
English guitar player, cool artist, singer vibe. He just put out a cool new record with a drummer, Yusef Days, that is very cool. And it is like this, it's like a boom bap breakbeat kind of neo soul R&B hip hop record that he's singing on, that Tom Misch is singing and playing guitar on, and his guitar sounds I'm really inspired by. It's a lot of very heavy modulation, a pretty clean guitar sound, but very heavy, vibrato, slow vibrato or chorus modulation, things like that. And it's about the chord voicings that he's playing. It's about how the guitar is interacting with the drums specifically, and the drum sounds, which I think is really cool. So yeah, everyone should go check out that new Tom Misch record. Actually, let me look it up so I can plug it properly.
It's an interesting thing because I don't know if this whole culture of regurgitation will ever really go away. Like, will the Les Paul go away? Will the Strat go away?
What Kind of Music is what it's called.
There we go.
Tom Misch and Yusef Days. I think the single is called Night Rider, and
Nice.
I would play it, but we're gonna get copyright strike. But this is that's a cool record, I think, to check out for the part of the modern guitar sound.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, that's something I really need to dive into. I mean, just from a business perspective, I should know what people, because I know modulation is really big right now. I feel like there's like the guitar sounds are, I feel like, pretty cyclical for the most part, and like it's the 80s, and that sort of like rack thing is in vogue at the moment. So
it is, but it's being reinvented, right? It's not like Steve Lukather playing a Super Strat through $10,000 worth of rack gear. It's like it's basically very lo-fi. It's like part of the lo-fi hip hop movement, I think.
Absolutely.
It's turning your guitar into a lo-fi hip hop kind of sound. But then there's also this movement that I've been kind of getting into and experimenting with a lot recently, which is sort of more of a sound design thing. I came up with a sound yesterday using a combination of pedals and some plugins, some UA plugins back here, that sounded nothing like a guitar, but it was killer. It was really, really cool. And I think that stuff is really fascinating. I also see this rising in popularity like alongside the modular synthesis world. Like modular synth is blowing up right now.
And that is something that I don't understand. I mean, I understand like why it's appealing, but I don't know anything at all about it. You know, like how you use it, how any of it works. Like it looks cool, but I just don't get it. And I think I'm just too, I try to be really open-minded, but I don't know if I have the mental capacity to drive down another road of gear. I mean, not that I would ever be interested in buying that stuff, cause that's just not me. Like I had an epiphany once when I was playing Rock Band. Remember that game?
Oh yeah.
And I was like practicing the song. Or no, it was Guitar Hero. It was before Rock Band. I was playing Guitar Hero, like the first one on like PS2 or something. And I was like sitting there clicking the little plastic guitar, and I had my guitars like sitting behind me, and I was like, what am I doing? Like, I have this instrument that I will never master, that I still am so hungry to get better at. Why should I waste time doing anything else that is even closely in this field? And I kind of feel like that for most other instruments, because guitar for me is something I'm so excited about. I just never get to really dive headfirst into it.
I guess I see it more as like a way to augment what I'm doing on guitar. I'm really fascinated with the modular synth world, and I think I am going to start getting into it pretty soon. I've spent the last 6 months like kind of looking at it and lurking around like some modular synth forums and talking to some friends of mine that are into it. I love Moog stuff, for example. I love it's just another. The thing I've learned, the epiphany that I've actually had recently, speaking of epiphanies, is guitar is my chosen outlet, my chosen instrument, and I love the guitar. And I have that same sort of idea of, this is something that I will spend the rest of my life pursuing and getting, trying to get better at.
Right.
But I'm interested in the craft, and I'm interested in sounds.
Right.
I really love sounds. I love drums. I can't play drums to save my life. I will never be a drummer. It's not even worth my time trying to practice. But I love drums, and I love drum sounds, and listening to drum sounds and trying to figure out how they got that production and the sounds and everything. To me, the modular synth world, it's the next step beyond the pedal world. Right.
Yeah,
It's essentially like, building a modular synth is similar to building a pedal board, right? You think about, okay, what do I want this thing to do? Do I want it to just be a regular synth? Do I want to get a generative synthesis? There's so many different rabbit holes or rabbit trails you can go down.
Yeah.
And then you start picking your modules. You start picking, like you would pick pedals. Like, oh man, I need a phaser. Oh, I need a fuzz. Oh, I need a good delay, right?
Yeah.
You start putting the stuff together, and it's all about signal flow and patching things in unique ways and creating sounds. I mean, if you're into pedals, if you're into sounds and sound design and creation and the craft of all that stuff, I think for guitar players specifically, modular synthesis makes a lot of sense, because we already have the experience of building a system. Like taking a bunch of different pedals are modules, right? This is a module, and it's the process of putting your own unique system. There's no two pedal boards out there, for the most part, that are the same.
Well,
right? I mean, for all intents and purposes, unless you're trying to clone something, right? Like my pedal board is going to look different than your pedal board, right?
Yeah.
And modular synthesis is the same way. And when you look at what you can do with guitar through a modular synth, it's cool.
So you can plug a guitar into, like, see, I don't even know. I see it and it's like, oh, do you play it with a keyboard? Do you have like a signal generator? Like, I don't even know how it
literally
works.
You can do anything.
Oh, okay.
You could do it. Can, like, a generative synthesis is a module, and this is what I want to get into. It's, you build a modular synth system and you give it parameters. Okay. You say, I want you to use these notes and I want you to create a sequence with this many steps, and I want the sequence to repeat this many times, and then you just let it go. And
Okay.
it creates music. It's
See,
wild.
I watched some of the behind the scenes on The Mandalorian, the TV
Yeah.
show, and the guy that did the music had, a wall of modular stuff. It was crazy, and he was like making, and I recognized the sounds from the show that he's using to create like the soundscapes and the soundtrack. But it just like kind of like boggled my mind. Like I can't wrap my head around it, but it's definitely interesting. And I know, there's a lot of pedal dudes who are like doing that too.
Yeah.
So
Strymon's doing it. Strymon's been in that game for a while.
Yeah. It's crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah, man. So that's what we should do. Mythos, you should just transition completely out of guitar effects and just start making modules.
No.
You'll figure it out.
I
It'll be
mean,
fine.
like the thing that I often think about doing is just like not making any normal stuff and just doing fancy hand wired things. And that's the only other thing I can see myself doing. Or like every time I go to Novo, I'm like, I leave there thinking, I just want to work here. I just want to work here and get paid a decent wage and like make guitar pedals on the weekend.
Dude, that is a really cool workplace.
Yeah.
Like every time I go there, I don't think I could work there, but I end up hanging out there pretty much the whole day.
Yeah. Well, whenever I go, I always end up just talking to everybody about like business strategy and stuff. And it's like, we don't talk about guitars or tone or anything like that. We're just talking about, I think this is a good way to like market and reach new customers and maybe like, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So like, I think I talked to Morgan about it, my wife about it a lot, thinking, because I remember once when I was like it was not soon after I met those guys, I text Matthew and was like, hey, if this pedal thing doesn't work out, can I have a job? And he was like, oh yeah. So
yeah, but dude, I would argue the pedal thing's working out
it's
pretty
fine.
well.
It's fine.
it's fine.
We're about to get a couple more dealers, one in Canada finally, and then one in Denmark, Effect Peddler.
That's cool.
They have a great
cool name.
Instagram, and there's a few others. So yeah, it's fine. That's just like, I have a really hard time doing the same thing over and over for like years. Like it's really,
I do too.
I get really restless.
Mm-hmm.
So
yep.
It is what it is.
So I think, to kind of to revisit that idea, I think the clone thing and the reissue thing will always be part of guitar because look, man, the 60s and the 70s and 50s, 60s, 70s, that 40 or 50 year span was arguably, it was the golden age of guitar playing and guitar music. We may not ever get back to that, which is a discussion on its own. Right. But I think because it was so influential and because it had such an impact on just culture across the board at the time, I think we're always going to have a pretty large sector of the guitar market, maybe even the majority of the guitar market, that is interested in playing the stuff of the golden age. That's me. I'm not interested in playing a Strandberg guitar. I know they're amazing instruments and they're incredibly well made, and the people that play them love them. It is just personally my anti guitar, and this is not a dig at Strandberg, by the way, if anybody's watching.
I totally agree.
Yeah, I can't get past the no headstock thing. It just I can't do it.
They're and they play well. I've played a few of them, and they're like, they're cool. I just like, and it's one of those things that I see them and I'm like, I could buy one of those, and then it would just like live in its gig bag, in my closet. But it's funny, like art just in general is something that everyone is inspired by someone, and like you can forever go backwards and like find new things by learning about even the most current person, like what's inspired them. And it all goes back to the heyday of musical instruments for the most part. So I agree. I think that we'll never be able to escape it. I just hope that But the thing I struggle with the most, at least from my own personal perspective, is trying to let people understand that just because something isn't exactly a copy of something else, it's still really good. Because I feel like you have to really prove yourself. Like my Herculean is based off this, but it is not this at all. And when people say, I don't really like Tube Screamers, I'm like, it's a hard sell, because they don't understand that just because something's based off this doesn't mean that it is this,
Right.
And even then, this is based off a Boss pedal,
Right.
It's not even, I don't know.
I think the important thing here is to keep an open mind.
Yeah.
Which I don't always do.
Same.
But I think that is important to come into something, like the Strandberg thing for me, trying to keep an open mind about it. And I think I do for the most part, like with that type of guitar and that type of, that style of playing. It's like, yeah, I keep an open mind about it. I know people that play those guitars. Keith from 5 Watt World has one, and he absolutely loves it. And we like a lot of the same music and a lot of the same style. So it's like, obviously there's something about those guitars, but
style isn't limited to an instrument,
Right.
And I think a lot of times we fall victim to that, thinking like, if you're going to play Stevie, you got to play a Strat, or if you're going to play, Jimmy Page riffs, you have to have a Les Paul, and that couldn't be further from the truth.
Dude, I played, we played Since I've Been Loving You on the last Backstage Live show.
Yeah.
And I played it on my Strat because the Strat was in E flat, and we tuned down for Noah to sing it and to avoid copyright strike. Where we played it in B flat, so it made sense to play a guitar that was a half step down. And I've gotten a few dozen comments that were like, why are you playing Zeppelin on a Strat?
Exactly.
Like, was your Les Paul in the shop? Where's your Les Paul? It's like, is this illegal?
Right.
Am I going to go to jail? Am I going to go to the Gear Page jail or something because I used a Strat on Zeppelin? I mean,
and half the people, if there was no video, they wouldn't know the difference.
Yeah, they wouldn't know.
I get it, because I'm the same way. Like when I want to learn, I was digging out all my tab books.
Oh boy.
And I found my ZZ Top book, which is a great, like, it's a very well tabbed out tab book. I was like, oh, I got to bust out my Les Paul. I was like, no, I don't. Like, I can play it on anything. So
play it on the Novo.
Yeah.
Play it on the Revolta, whatever.
Yeah. I think, yeah. It's a weird, guitarists are just weird. We're weird people.
We're oftentimes very fundamentalist and very stuck in our ways and very close-minded. And you know what? I think we need to change. Mm-hmm. I think as a guitar community, and this is a generalization, right? I'm not talking to anybody specifically here, but just, I've been in public online for 2.5 years, and I've been on the receiving end of a lot of praise and the receiving end of a lot of hate, which is whatever. It's part of the game. But some of the hate that I've gotten over the years, I think is just completely unfounded and based in like a weird sort of fundamentalist view of what music and what guitar is and what it has to be. Mm-hmm. And at the end of the day, man, this is art, and there are no rules. There's no rules that says this is how you have to do this. Yeah. And if you're not playing a Les Paul on a Zeppelin song, you're wrong. I just think we need to open our minds.
Yeah.
A little bit.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's called play for a reason.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
All right. Well, I think we've just about covered it.
I think so. I don't think we have to do any more.
No, I think this is it. A one and done. We're a one-hit wonder podcast. That's not true. Don't forget to subscribe. We are going to be doing these weekly Dipped in Tone podcasts. If you like what we're doing here, we're just getting this thing ramped up, getting it started. So we're gonna have merch and stuff available. We're kicking around the idea of some kind of club style thing,
fan page support group.
Yeah, we're figuring this out. We want it to be fun and something that we enjoy doing and a fun outlet for us. But we want you guys to be involved. So don't forget to email dippedintone@gmail.com with topic suggestions, with questions. We'll probably get a voicemail box going up sometime soon, maybe by the next episode. And, watch us on YouTube, YouTube Dipped in Tone Podcast, and you can find it in audio form where all fine podcasts are downloaded. Anything else we got to plug?
I don't guess so. I mean, we could say where we're from. I don't think we ever said, like what your YouTube channel is. And
I don't imagine there's a lot of people just stumbling into this podcast that don't already know.
You know, when this thing hits 1 million views and, is
Oh
being
my God.
shared all over YouTube, people might need to know.
All right. Well, where are you from, Zachary?
I am Zach from Mythos Pedals. You can find me at mythospedals.com or on Instagram, same name, all the same stuff.
And I am Rhett from Rhett Shull.
Rhett.com.
I'm from Rhett.com. Yeah, I play guitar and make videos about playing guitar on the internet. So there you go.
That's it.
I don't think we're going to do like an Instagram for the show. We talked about it and we're like,
we're just going to use our personal stuff to like share and promote it and connect with people. But yeah, I think the biggest part of the community will probably live as far as like connection on YouTube comments and stuff like that. So
yeah, I think YouTube's the best platform for this because we can actually engage with everyone, get the comments going. Yeah. We want this to be an open discussion. So if we said something today that just royally pissed you off and you're hate commenting, by all means, let us know.
But do the thing and like type it and then walk away and then read it and then post it.
Right. Right. Would you send this to your coworker?
That's right.
How about that? In most cases, probably yes. Awesome. All right. Well, I imagine there's some kind of outro music playing here. I don't know. We haven't recorded it yet, but there will be something here. So thanks, everyone, for listening or watching to the first episode.
See ya.